For this video, we're going to show you how to create your first electronics library, as well as create your first component that goes into your library. A library in the electronics version of Fusion 360 is where you keep your electronics components, such as like an LED or a moment switch, or even a Raspberry Pi could be in it, or a micro mini. But all the little sort of parts that you've used on your breadboard are components that can go into an electronics design. This allows us to go from a breadboard that you've been working with when you're doing your circuits, Mr. Christie's guides, and turn that into an actual circuit board. So you don't need the breadboard anymore. You don't need all the jumper cables. We can actually create a circuit board on our PCB mills, and you can actually solder the actual components to it. In order to make all that work, though, we do have to create these libraries with these components in it. We're going to make our first library today. I tend to make a library for every project that I work on. Some people like to just make one library that is for all their different projects. You'll decide which works best for you, but today we'll make one library and you can begin to work from there. In Fusion 360, we're just going to go ahead and go up to the File menu here, and you'll see a couple of options. New design, new electronics design, new library. We're going to start with the library, but all electronics designs will actually also encompass a new electronics design. But first, we do need a library, so we're going to go ahead and create a library. And actually, I did just create this library, but I already created one here that we're going to work in. So just note that I'm moving to one I've already created. But you will go ahead and just save this into whatever folder you're working in and give it a name that you're going to recognize. I have Mr. L Test 2 here. And you can save it just by clicking on the Save button. So I'm moving into this. It's the same exact thing as the other thing you were looking at. Just this one I saved already. And it has a few things in it already. What you'll see now is kind of a blank area here. And then some options on the left and some items up above here that we're going to actually talk about. The kind of important item here is the content manager. I'm going to open it and you're going to see, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to this one so you don't see anything. So my content manager is open here. And you can see there's nothing. It says no components, no selection. The screen is blank here. That's all fine. But we do want this open right now. You'll also notice that these icons here match these icons here. So clicking on these icons down here will show what we've already created. These are to actually create those items. The component, or a new component, think of a component as sort of all the parts to an LED. So we're going to actually create an LED. So this would just say we're going to create an LED, and when we do that, we'll get like a little line here that says LED, and this will house all the components for the LED. Those components are this thing here, symbols. Symbols are what we use on schematic design, so the sort of 2D drawing of circuits, which you've seen before. The footprint is another part of it. The footprint is the little circular pads with the holes that actually are on the circuit board that you solder to. And depending on your component, you may need, 2 pads for your footprint. You may need 20 if you're using or 28 if you're using a Metro Mini. So we have to make sure the spacing and everything is correct on the pads. So that's what the footprint is. The package is a 3D model of whatever that part is, like a 3D model of an LED, which you should have done already before you've moved on to this tutorial, because we're going to use that 3D model of the LED. So an LED as part of your library needs all of these components in order to create a full model and to be used in an electronics design. So we're going to go ahead and just go through that process. The first thing we can do is just create a component. You can click on that, type in 5mm LED, and you can click OK. I'm going to move to this one now because I've already done that. And here you can see that once I've done that, I just have a thing here. There's nothing, this thing has nothing in it. It's just sort of a line saying I'm going to have a component that is a 5mm LED. Again, nothing in it. What we'll do next is create a symbol. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a symbol. And there are two ways to do it. One, we can go and find an existing symbol, and you'll see that we'll have access to pre-made libraries where symbols and footprints already exist. So we'll come up here, new symbol, and let's just choose, we don't have to type anything in here, just choose import. And down here, let's just search for LED. And we're just looking for a symbol, right? So I'll look for a symbol, hit enter, and Adafruit, this library here, has an LED symbol in it. And here you can see that is the symbol for LEDs. That's kind of the universal. So we can just say OK. And here we go. We've now got a symbol, okay? And it's come in as LED. I'm just going to rename it so I know it's mine and just say 5mm LED. There we go. So now just be aware, we still have a component and we have a footprint. They're not connected yet. Okay, what I usually like to do is kind of make all of this and then connect it all together. The next thing we can connect is a footprint, or we can create as a footprint. So just so you can see, if I go to this Components tab, I see this 5mm LED. If I actually double click on it, you'll see that still nothing's kind of appearing here. Okay. If I come over to this tab, it's just showing that I do have a symbol. And if I double click on that, you'll see that there it is. And now we're going to create a 5mm LED footprint. So we can come up here and we can actually do the same thing. Click import and LED. And let's see what we got. I can see right here actually already, there's LED 5mm. Here is the footprint. You can see these green areas. These are the pads. These are the kind of places where you can solder to on the board. And then the other stuff is a mask. It's just, it'll just, when you see a PCB board with like white etching on it or something like that for letters and stuff like that, that's what this is that you'll see there. We're going to go ahead and open this, but we do need to make some changes to it. So here we can see I've now got this LED footprint. And what we really care about are these green pads. The rest of this stuff is not as pertinent. And in fact, I'm just going to go ahead and select this line and delete it, and this line and delete it. Well, try to delete it. There it is. I just don't need them. This line, delete, and delete this one. Okay, so now I just have these pads. And if I, whoops, I don't want to delete that. I'm going to Control Z, come back. If I right click on this and go to Properties, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to change this to pause. So you see the letter A in there. Just want us to know that it is positive. That's fine. And then here, a couple of things need to change. The diameter, we're always going to use these numbers. 60. The drill size is going to be 40. And the shape is going to be long. And that is specific for the PCB mill that we use here in the shop. If you hit apply, you'll see how that pad changed right there. Now, if I were to do the same to this pad, they kind of hit each other, so we don't want that. So the only other thing I do need to change here is I'm going to turn this 90 degrees and hit apply again. And now you can see that that's looking a little more correct. I'll hit OK, and I'll do the exact same thing to this one. Properties. I'm just going to go ahead and choose 90 here already. 60. Oops, I'm going to change this one to 40. And create a long. Whoops. Apply. Looks good. And we can hit OK. Oh, I do want to change that to negative. And we know this is the negative lead because it's near the flat side. So we just change this K. And I'll put in NEG, negative. Okay. Perfect. Okay, we've now created a footprint. So now we've got a pad and or a symbol and a footprint. So if I come up, click on component here, so now I can see my component, and I'm going to double click on the component. And this stuff is in the way here. Hold on, let me move that. Now down here on the right side of the screen, we can see new. And connect. These are things we're going to use in a second. But the first thing we need to do for this component is add the symbol. The way we do that is come up here. We'll click add. And since we've only created one symbol, that's all we can see as available to add. So I'll just click on it and click OK. And here you can see it's kind of attached to me. I'm just going to drag it to the middle here, something like that. So it's kind of wherever this that crosshair is on your object is where you'll be able to click on it later when you're creating diagrams, schematics to move it and edit it. Okay, so there it is. So now we've got a symbol. And you can see now I've got this little caret here next to my component, and I can open it up and it's showing that this symbol is now connected to it. We can go ahead and connect a footprint to it by clicking on new, add local package, and again, we've got LED 5mm here, so that's all we have, so we'll go ahead and click OK. And then we do need to connect it, okay? And we can just connect these ends of our symbol to these ends of our pad. Now we'll go ahead and do that now. And hit OK. So now, if we look over here again, we can see from our component, we've got the LED component that includes a symbol, and it includes a footprint. The footprint also has a little drop down. You can see it's got what we call a package, a 3D representation to it. And here you can see what that representation looks like. That's not really helpful in terms of what an LED looks like. We're going to add our own in the next video. I'm just going to delete this now. Just right click and delete. Oh, actually we can't delete it from here. Let's click on this, the footprint symbol, then open it up again, and let's delete it. That should delete it. No? Oh. All right, we're going to go back here. This is my fault. I'm going to yes. Now it still should exist here. And now I can delete just the LED, just that package right there. Okay, so now there's just a footprint that exists. And we will have to go back and add the local package again and connect it. Okay. So now again, we sort of fix that. We've got the component, we've got the symbol, and we've got the footprint. So symbol, You can see that showing here, and footprint, you can see that showing there. Okay, so we've got all those. The last thing that you can add, although you don't need to, is a 3D model of the little component like an LED, and we'll do that in the next video. Just a couple of things to note, actually, now that we've got our part here. I'm going to double click on it. And actually, let's double click on the symbol to open up the symbol. When we just actually connected the pads to the pins here, it's important to actually know which goes to which. And we sort of just did that haphazardly. If I kind of click on this or right click on this end and choose properties, we can see that this says A. Okay, and as we know, this end of the symbol for an LED is the anode. So that should go to the positive end. So A should go to positive. So we need to remember that. This one, if we look at it on this end, we'll say C, which is the cathode. And that should go to the negative end, sort of the negative pad. So if we kind of come back, double click on the component end, and I'm just going to move this slightly so we can see. If we click on connect again, we can just look at what we've done here, and we'll see that A is connected to positive and C is connected to negative. I think we may have just got lucky that that's the case, because I didn't really kind of plan to do that. But just to show you what would happen if you had made a mistake, it's not a big deal. We'll just hit disconnect for both of them, and then it'll let us reconnect them. And as you can see here, C is still connected to the negative, but if I wanted to change that, I could just click on this, and now A would connect to negative, and I would hit connect. But I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to go change A to positive, hit connect, and then C is to negative, hit connect. That just ensures that your that on the board, the computer is going to know when you start aligning components and having it trace them, the little traces it's going to draw on the circuit board from pad to pad, that they're going to the correct pads. So it's important to just make sure you know which pin you have in your symbol and how that corresponds to the pad that you have in the footprint. Okay. So we're almost done with creating this component. We've got the component, we've got the symbol, we've got the footprint. The last part of this is to create a 3D package so that our 3D circuit board will show the actual components. This tutorial assumes that you have already created the LED, so you've already created your own little LED. And so what we're actually going to do is import that model to be the stand-in as the 3D component in our 3D board. So if we right-click on the footprint, we can see the option for Create New 3D Model. We're going to go ahead and click on that. You can call it whatever you want. Mine's an LED 5mm, so I'm just going to keep it at that. And we'll just keep it in the current place for now where I'm working. And you'll just kind of see what it does is it brings in the footprint of your component, and then it allows you to add models in different ways. And I'll go over some other ways to bring in models, but for this one, we're going to bring in a model that you've already made. So I'm going to open this up, and what we can do is I'm going to go back out of here, and you can also search for it, your 3D model of your 5mm LED, but I know where mine is. It's down here somewhere. Here it is. It's right here. I'm just going to right click on it, and I'm going to say Insert into Current Design. Now I'm pretty fortunate. What we want is the leads, as you can see here, going through the holes that are the pads. You can see that right there. That's exactly what we want. This happened to go in almost the right place, but you can see there's one issue with this. If we look at the bottom, the negative here, this flat end, doesn't correspond to the flat end over here in the pad. You can see that. So we just need to rotate it, and you can see the controls for rotating it as we bring it in. So I'm just going to rotate it 180 degrees here. And that should be in place. If it came in completely somewhere else, that's okay. You just can move it to exactly where you need it so it aligns up with your pads. That all looks good here, so I can just hit OK. And I'm going to hit the Finish button here and hit Save. So now this should be, or this 3D model should be part of the LED component. And as you can see, this little caret here is now showing up, showing that I have a 3D package as part of the whole component here. And if I click on that, it's going to show me that. So we've now created one component for our circuit board, a 5mm LED. The LED component is here. Underneath it, we can see the symbol, which is this right here. We can see the footprint, which we've created, which we'll see on a two-dimensional circuit board that you create. And then we have a 3D package that will represent it as a 3D model when it's on a 3D circuit board. So these are all the components that make up one, or all the parts that make up one component for a circuit board in your library. We can then connect this library to a project, which we'll do in a following video. But I'll also show you how to find components a little easier than how we did it just now.